Hey, I'm Michael, and this is Michael in the Middle. It's an intergenerational relational podcast for people who are interested in better human interaction. I'm glad you're here. Episode 43. I am really glad about this one. I'm loving them all, even to a certain extent the ones that I do by myself, but I sure like it better when I have somebody else on the other side of the screen. And that, my friends, is Joshua Cobb. Josh, it's great to have you here. You're on the back deck at your house.
Yeah, man. Got the cows in the background, but they're not out there yet. But they come around in the evenings.
What kind of hours do cows keep these days?
I would say that about 5 to 7, they're right there. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. It's a beautiful background, and I know you guys recently moved from Oklahoma back to the Cincinnati area. Talk a little bit about that in the context of your own family there. But just by way of background for people who may not know either one of us very well. I mean, folks who've been following me on Michael in the Middle for a little while know that I'm prone to tell stories of or to bring people on to tell their stories that I've been familiar with for quite a while, and I could literally say that I've known you all your life.
Yeah,
Your mom,
you know the beginning, the middle, and the end of this whole thing. Yeah.
yeah, your mom and her family came to our church when I was, I don't know, probably about 10 or 11 years old, and the Lunsford family were just a legendary part of our lives there in Oklahoma. Um, I remember what fun it was to drive out to Dawson's Feed Store out there on the way to Mustang, Oklahoma, uh, and your mom and her uh, younger sisters Tinka and Toby, they had the Lunchford Trio, and they made a record, in the early '70s, or that I just thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I knew all these traveling people that would come in and sell their records, but there was this family in our church, and these girls were making a record. Your family, both sides of your family's been making music for a long time. I'll go ahead and tell the folks that when your mom and dad were dating, they both went off to Mid America Nazarene College at that time up in Olathe, Kansas, and so they were trying to figure some things out. And your dad actually lived in our home there, sort of Western Oaks Church of the Nazarene for I don't know, a few months. My wife and I were watching the Jesus Revolution movie, and I don't know if you've seen that, but about the dawn of, kind of the contemporary Christian music movement and the big wave of things that happened out with Greg Laurie and Chuck Girard and those people out in California, and featured in that movie uh, was the group Love Song. They were kind of the worship band in this hippie Jesus movement that was going along. And I kid you not, my first recollection of contemporary Christian music was an 8-track tape that your dad had that had Love Song on it, that the group Love Song. And so I'm thinking this is circa 1974, maybe, when I'm hearing it. And it was just the coolest thing to hear music like I might hear on the radio set to Christian lyrics, and your dad was the one who kind of introduced me to that. Um,
Yeah, my dad
so,
had a great voice and was a very talented singer, piano player. Yeah,
oh man,
I mean, he
yeah,
still has a great voice. Shouldn't say
sure,
had, but yeah.
yeah, no, no, and so just your mom and dad get married, and they're singing together, and they start having kids. Tell me about your family. Are you the middle
I'm the
child?
middle child, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got an older brother, Billy. He's a he's a mountain of a man. I mean, his wrists are as thick as you and I's ankles. He's just a wonderful specimen of humanity. And my sister Audra, she got her master's in opera from the Boston Conservatory of Music a few years ago, and she's like this brilliant coloratura soprano that can sing everything that like those divas do. And I just sing gospel songs, sing songs about Jesus, and try my best.
I'm
But yeah, growing up in the we lived in a 50 or a 40-foot travel trailer. We went from camp meeting all summers long to revivals all the rest of the year, and mom and dad would just preach and sing as best they could, and they could do it really good.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, you 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 have I don't know. It's an interesting thing to look back on. Um, you guys have kind of been singing together forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I never stopped, but Audra and Billy both took their own path. Billy went into the, roofing and construction business. Audra went into the opera and teaching business, and I went to Olivet in the year 1997. Met my wife there, and we have been doing ministry ever since.
Beth is musical herself. She plays the
Oh
piano.
yeah, she's way better than I am at music. I mean, she can sight read, like Rachmaninoff or Chopin or Beethoven or whatever. But she can also, after, we've been together for 26 years. We've been married for going on 20 years this year.
Yeah,
And she can follow me and I'm like, oh, he touched me. Oh, he touched me. And she just, maybe I'm behind the beat a little bit. She would just fall right in there, right behind me. And she can read, Chopin, and she can play Clair de Lune like she's ringing a bell.
which probably speaks to her level of intellect that allows her to be also an incredible researcher. What's she doing?
Well, she worked for Cincinnati Children's Hospital for about 8 years, and then she went to Arkansas. This diagnostic company brought her there to be the COO, where she brought to market a test where you can just prick your finger and you can know if you got COVID or you got diabetes or you got you know cancer or AIDS or any kind of STD or any kind of any kind of test. If you just prick your finger and it about 15 minutes later, if you got it. And she's like probably well she I know when she was 14 she took an IQ test and she had 180 was her
Oh my!
IQ. Yeah, so she's real smart and she plays piano. And I, I fell in love with her 26 years ago.
That's fantastic. And you
Yeah.
have a son, Judah.
Yeah, he just graduated high school. He's going to college this fall, and
I deal with hair envy when I'm around Judah. He's got that hair.
he does.
That,
It's huge. Yeah, it looks like Robert
yeah,
Plant from
yeah. I mean,
From the yeah
when
Led
when
Zeppelin or something.
when I was younger, I had a nice mop of hair on my head, but those days are in the rearview mirror. So, when did you know you could sing?
Well,
Like,
I didn't have a choice, Michael. It was either sing or get spanked. If I was like, I don't want to sing, Mama would give me a old beating. So yeah. No, I think what you're asking me really is like I think about the age of 15, I could hit the notes of the
yeah.
guys that I was listening to, and that's
And
about this.
who were some of those influences on your vocals?
Well, my dad, did all the Steve Green and Larnell Harris songs from back in the day, like "He holds the keys." Yes,
Yeah,
my Jesus. That, and Larnell had like, "If you love him." All in favor, say aye.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so I had a pretty good education with those guys when I was younger. But I'd say the first time I really knew it was when I went to Olivet and I was in a quartet there and we were doing some Bill Gaither vocal band songs and
Yeah.
I could actually do it and I didn't even know I could, but it was the first time anybody ever asked me to do it and I pulled it off and that was when I knew I was like, I think I could do this for my rest of my life.
And here you are. Um,
Yeah.
we we'll get to that Gaither thing a little bit later because I want to play a clip from something that just happened recently for you. But you mentioned uh, Audra and Olivet. You guys were up there, both singing in different groups for Olivet Nazarene University, and you're on your way home from Olivet to Oklahoma. Um, and I
Yeah,
mean,
we had a big bad wreck.
a lot of people would remember, that the Ford Explorer and the tires that were on those Ford Explorers back in the what was that around 2000?
2000. Yeah.
Yeah, um, and you guys were involved in a really traumatic and tragic accident. We'll drop the picture in here for those who are watching. But Audra took a real bad tumble. No joke. I mean, she was thrown from the vehicle, right? Or were you both? I'm trying to remember.
No, I mean I wasn't, but she was. Yeah, the third roll. We rolled 6 times, and on the third roll, she was thrown out. And when we stopped rolling, my girlfriend at the time, Beth, who's now my wife, I was like, Beth, are you okay? And she said, Yeah, I'm fine. And I was like, Audra, are you okay? And she just wasn't there. And I looked out my window, which was crushed. I mean, because my side had taken like the brunt of the rolling, and I just ran out. I just got out of there as fast as I could, and I saw her in the headlights of an oncoming semi truck, middle of the highway.
Oh no.
And I sprinted about probably 200 yards, grabbed her, picked her up, and turned sideways, and that was like all I could do. And this truck just went bloom flying by. This semi truck, he couldn't see us because it was dark and we were coming. It was around a bend in the road. Is mile marker 44 or 840 on 44 and on I-44. It was awful, man. And then what the most beautiful thing about it was though that I'm just looking at her, slapping her, like saying, "Stay with me, stay with me." And then some guy out of nowhere walks up and says, "Hey, can I put a tourniquet on her leg?" And I was like, "Yes, please do that, sir." And he did. She had a compound fracture of her femur, so she was, bleeding out of her leg there, and he put that tourniquet on her, and then never saw him again. Don't know who that was. And to this day, she says, that was her angel that
Mm,
that showed up in the moment of need, and I believe that. And the funniest part about it is my wife still gives me some guff about it. She's like, because I had this Eminem CD, because this was like 2000, and I had this Eminem CD, and I was like, oh man, this is why this happened because I was listening to this devil music, and I just threw it out there, and I
yeah,
know I know now that wasn't the case, but
sure.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean there was so much going on back then, and I was like, so I had just auditioned for Legacy 5 back then. Um, I was a junior in college, and a buddy of mine was teaching at an elementary school in like wherever close to Olivet, Illinois. And he was like, "I got a 4-track recorder. Bring Beth. We'll record it onto a cassette and we'll send it to Scott and Roger." And I did, and that's how I got the job with Legacy 5. I sang some of my dad's old medleys, and and that was how I got the job with Legacy 5, and dropped out my junior year right after that. So there was still probably some PTSD I hadn't processed,
Yeah.
and
So it's good to go directly into gospel music full time when you're still, struggling with some other things.
yeah. I mean,
Where you're out on the road and you're in a bus and, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, that was intense. But at the same time, I feel like God was totally in that moment, because that's when I recorded the song I Stand Redeemed, which to this day still, like, it people come up to me and are like, I sang I Stand Redeemed with my choir this week, and
Love that.
I mean that's 23 years ago
Yeah.
that the people are still loving that song. So
So
I
so you were what? How old? What, were you 20, 21 years old diving into that full
I
time?
was I was 19 when we started when we
Really?
did the record and stuff,
Okay.
and then yeah, I was like 20 and 21, and then yeah.
And you're not only, you know, getting into the gospel music that way. I mean, you're you're coming in behind the cathedrals. I mean, isn't that the great seat of the cathedrals? A couple of the guys were in cathedrals and they
Yeah,
started.
George Johnson, Glenn Payne, they were the backbone of they were the cathedrals, and the younger guys that were continuing on after they retired were, they were in their like 30s and 40s at the time, and I was a teenager. And so it was a really awesome aspect of my life, but at the same time I wasn't ready for that. I mean, it was it was a little bit, too much for me at the time, because I went straight from a Nazarene PR group quartet to, you know, the the Legacy 5. You know?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was and we were on fire, man. We were crushing it.
What what did it do to you to move from that kind of stuff where you're in churches? Of course, you would hear applause and those kinds of things, but
Well, this is what I love about your show, man, is like the middle. You know, the middle of that was like me having to come to grips with the fact that I was a evangelist and I became an artist
yeah,
and I didn't I didn't really have the tools to know how to become an artist. I was just and to be honest, like the guys I'm working with today say the same thing to me. They're like, "Hey man, you're you're great live. Live, you really make the people hear what you're saying, and God, I like it's I don't say this, but people say this, like, you have an anointing that happens when you sing live. In the studio, it's just like, yeah, I can hit really high notes and I'm pretty good. But the anointing is not there in the studio. It's only there live.
you
And
think
I think
that's? I mean, I think some of that has to do with a recording studio. Anybody who's ever been in, it has to be sterile. It has
perfect,
to,
yeah.
has to be flat so that you can do all the mixing that you need to do later on.
Yeah.
And and I think that's the difference between a studio and a live audience, because you're getting immediate feedback. You're sensing what people are experiencing as opposed to trying to imagine what people might experience when listening. Um, I don't think I don't think the artist and the evangelist are mutually exclusive, kinds of terms.
Yeah.
I think you can be both. I think you are both. But I like that you drew that out and that you began to recognize that, kind of at a young age. Um, I mean, uh, how much of your personal experience do you think has impacted you as an artist and as an evangelist? What I mean, we don't have to delve too deeply into your story necessarily, but you you've been through a lot in your life, even some traumatic events within the life of the family after the accident and that sort of thing. Um, how does that you when you sing a song?
Well, I think the most important thing to me is that, a connection is made between me and the people listening to the song. And there are times when I'm I a lot of times when you work for a quart a quartet or like a group that if you're the new guy, you got to work the table. Like
Yeah,
it's your job to be up there, selling the CDs and stuff, and that gives you a chance to really connect with the people.
yeah.
And there are times when like, I come up to the table after a show and some dude with like a handlebar mustache walks up and I don't know if he wants to punch me or, like kiss me or punch, like, and he's like, listen, man, when you were singing that song, there's been something in my heart that has been blocked for a long, long time. And when you sang that song, it completely was it was unblocked and I'm feeling free and I feel so good. And thank you so much for being here tonight. And that's the moment, where like it's all been worth it.
Yeah.
All the things you've been through, all the things you've had to deal with and process in your own mind, they don't have to do that. They just get the boom, knock it out, and the blockage is gone and they're free.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's my favorite thing about singing
That's
is when
so
that
cool. How do you keep it fresh when you're singing the same song?
happens. That's a good question, Mike. Um, I I guess, you just you just kind of think about who's in the audience tonight, where are they coming from, and you just, you know, use the little tricks you have that where you can pop a high note or something, and those are some of the tricks that you do. But really, it's just about being being available, and letting God change. Maybe you had a whole set planned, but then somebody comes up to you at the table and talks to you about a song you did 10 years ago, and oh man, I got to put that in. I got to put that in the set tonight.
I I I think you really hit on something there when you make yourself available
Yeah.
and sort of vulnerable. When the lyric hits you in a real way, it's going to translate better to the people that you're singing to.
Oh my
So
gosh, my hair's all messed up. Okay. I don't like to talk about it, man. I don't know what it is. I just love when the Lord does something special.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, we 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 have times in our lives where um, you're rocking along, things are going pretty well, or at least they're manageable, and then like the wreck, other things end up popping up, and things that kind of come out of the blue, and you have to deal with them, and all of that.
Yeah.
uh, you know um, the the pictures that we can show of your younger life, looks like the perfect family, and everybody's going great and all of that, and your parents are incredibly gifted in so many ways. I mean, your mom has become, by by what I know from people in Oklahoma, one of the best counselors anybody can go to process their stuff.
Isn't that
But
awesome?
some of that was born out of her own life experience herself, right? I mean, I absolutely love your dad. I remember him so fondly, but you know, he and your mom came to a point where they weren't together anymore, and you know, that's just reality. That's part of what you kind of deal with. You know, without going into detail about all
Yeah.
those kind. I mean,
Well,
how's your relationship with your parents these days?
well, I would love to just have a relationship with my mom where she was just my mom. But she's so good at counseling people, and that's what she's done. That, she's kind of my therapist a little bit in the sense that,
Yeah,
she's always there for me. She's been there for me at every time I've had anything cool in my life. She's always been like, "I'm flying in. I'll be there." And she's always been my advocate. Some people say to make it in this business, you need a manager and a booking agent. But to me, I think you need an advocate, someone who goes before the people and tells them what you can do and how you can do it and what you're going to. And she has been that for me in every aspect of my life and career, and I love her for that. And I love her for so many other things. But
sure.
my dad, he kind of taught me how to do what I do, how to hit the high notes, and then at one point, in his when he turned about 51 or so, he kind of, he just had a he had a he kind of switched the game up, and decided that the ministry wasn't for him, and that was difficult for me because that was all I knew.
Yeah,
And he has a proclivity that I do not share, but I understand that that's his proclivity and many other people's proclivities throughout. Is that a word, proclivity? Is that,
it
can
is.
I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually a really good word. Yeah,
Yeah.
a
And so,
tendency for or attraction to. Yeah,
yeah. So, and I love him for who he is and for what he's done. And there are so many people that are going to go to heaven because of him and the 30 years he spent, doing what God wanted him to do. And I don't know that God's not done with him, but I love him, and I have a good relationship with him. He lives in Dallas. And he's singing still to this day, and but it was difficult to wrap my head around the the way processed he processes life, and the way he
yeah.
wants to live his life. And I don't have a bone in my body that wants to be mad at him. I have a side of me that would really prefer for him to have, loved my mom and still be with my mom and everything. And I wish that for her. But, you know, uh, man, there's so many people in this industry that are the same way, and I love them all too, and I would never say a bad word about any of them because
Sure.
Jesus loves them more than I do. So,
That's I don't know how it could be said any better.
well, I've been
Um,
trying. I've been trying for a few years to figure out how to say it. So hopefully I did a good job.
you you're living it well. Um, it's it's one of those things where there are things that we probably will never fully understand, and at some point we we have to move past saying the words that we think we ought to say about trusting God with the outcome of different situations and actually really just leaving it in God's hands. You know, I think you I think you gave voice to that very well. Um,
And I would love to sing a duet with him someday, just because his voice is so beautiful, man. It's got that Barbara Streisand quality where it's like People, people who need people. Heart of love. It's got so much drama.
He does.
Yeah.
I remember. I remember that very well. You know, uh, I, I have memories of your mom. Not only being a strong woman, even as a young woman, um, but she had a lovely voice in her own right. Uh, Knew how to blend well, and 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 yet she was she was tough on the basketball floor. I remember driving to Weatherford, Oklahoma. I think it was Weatherford when she was playing high school basketball for Mustang.
Yeah.
Back when it was three offensive and three defensive players. Some people
Yeah.
wouldn't even know that that's the way women's basketball operated for a long time. You had six players on the floor, but the offensive players couldn't go past half court to play defense, and the defensive players couldn't go. And and you could well imagine that your mom was mostly on defense,
Oh yeah.
stealing the ball and getting it to the girls who could go down and put it in the
Yeah.
basket and all that. I love
I married one just like her.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? Actually, tonight Toby is coming to stay with me. Uh, her daughter Deborah is getting married soon, and so tonight Toby and Catherine, her daughter, are coming to stay with me at this house, and I'm gonna be able to hang out with my Aunt Toby for the first time in a long time. And you remember how she used to she would do the tumbling and stuff. She was
Oh
like the
yeah.
mascot for the
Yeah.
team back in Mustang, Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And then the three girls had a younger brother.
Jim
We
Bob.
all knew we always knew him as Jim Bob, but occasionally I would hear Edwina holler out James Robert, which
James
meant
Rob.
that he was he was in for some kind of discipline.
Best
Uh,
he was the best athlete I've ever known in my life, man.
really?
That guy he would do a backflip death drop off of a 40-foot tree in the air. I mean he would jump off the barn like it was nothing. That
That's fantastic.
on his 60
Um,
year old on his 60th birthday, he did a handstand on the roof that he had just delivered the shingles to, and he is an athlete,
that's
and
amazing.
that's where I got these guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, eh, looking at your family and how they worked through a lot of different things over the years. Your brother Billy was an all-star football player in high school, and if not for a really unfortunate injury during his senior year, he probably would have played college football. Who knows? He might have ended up in the pros.
Yeah.
Uh, he and he and Becky have a great family.
Yeah,
I,
4 kids. Yeah, their youngest is a freshman at OU in Oklahoma
that's
University
amazing.
this year. Yeah,
Yeah.
and his recovery from the drug addiction is absolutely one of the greatest stories of all time. This guy, he's he's my absolute hero. He's always been the the strongest man I've ever known, and I'm just so proud of him and the way he's come through. I mean, it's been 14 years since he kicked his addiction, and
Yeah.
he's still just going strong and stronger than ever. Love that guy.
That's a great story in and of itself. Maybe worth a whole podcast someday.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Audra's story has turned out well. She's fought through all the physical challenges to be one of the great operatic voices, really in the middle part of the country there in Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah, she's teaching at SNU now, and I mean, she's got 3 kids herself, and just to think that she could walk again was something we never thought would happen. And she slowly but surely got herself back to a place where she could walk. But then this year, she had a procedure done on her ankles where they straightened them out because she used to just have to always be prone like this, but now they've flattened her ankles out and she can walk. And I mean, I have heard the joy come back in her voice, and and she's gonna be she's a better singer than me. Like she's way better than I am at singing. And so I just can't wait to see what she does over the next couple of years.
She
Because
and her husband um,
yeah,
gave gave our son Austin a computer that they were kind of done with because Austin's had got stolen, and during a pretty important time during his journey out there in LA, having that computer really made a huge contribution. So,
that's all.
in a way, you can tell them that they contributed to the rise of a Saturday Night Live cast member back there in the day.
Dude, he's so funny, man. He
Yeah,
just break he cracks me up, man. It's uncanny what he can do. I mean, there's no limit to what it's incredible.
yeah. Well, we'll see about all that. It's been fun to watch. I mean, it's fun to go to his shows. I
Yeah,
never know what he's going to say or if I'll need an apology, or whatever. But I, I love what he does. He's brilliant.
he sure is.
I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about what your journey has been to the recent point of being involved in a Gaither homecoming thing out in Tulsa recently. So from Legacy 5, you were with them for a little while, and then didn't you end up with Gold City
Yep.
Quartet as well? I mean, those are two of the biggest names still, in the gospel music business. At some point, though, you kind of step back away from traveling with those kinds of groups for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is there's a certain aspect that goes with that, and I certainly appreciate it now more than I did when I was younger. But yeah, I mean, Legacy 5, we had I Stand Redeemed, big song, and people still to this day, come up to me and talk about that one. Gold City was a awesome experience. I mean, just legendary bass singer Tim Riley, man, it's just an honor to be able to share the stage with him. Um, However, I'm not really I'm not really that guy, that sings tenor in a quartet. I love it and I'm good at it, but
It's
I
not
also I have a heart for communicating songs to the people that need to hear them. And they have hits that you have to do every night,
yeah.
and it's hard to I mean, like guys like Brian Free and Jay Perrick and Ernie Haas. I mean, they were singing like I mean, you there's nobody else on earth sings higher than those guys do. And I'm trying to do it in my chest voice, which I don't really have like a falsetto or a head voice like they do. Like they can be like, um, oh, what say yeah. I don't have that, like I have to be like, oh, what a savior. And that is hard to do. It's like, um, so I think that there was just, it was an awesome time and I could do it at the time, but to try to do it now would not work. And so,
So,
what happened with the Gaither thing is that,
well,
I'm wor
don't skip
oh,
over the Daily
oh,
and Vincent thing because didn't that kind of get you back into? I mean, I got a couple pictures here when you were with Daly and Vincent at Ryman, and we were talking about your mom there for a while. My mom, who died, you know, well, it'll be 2 years at Thanksgiving. I mean, my mom loved your mom like literally like she was, a daughter that she never had, and
she didn't have any daughters, so I think
they
that she did
they
do that.
and they were fun together. They had fun together, and try to get Rob to drop this picture in of the two of them outside the
Yeah,
bus, there at the Ryman. It was a lot of fun that night to see you in action with a group, that is primarily known for a bluegrass sound, but they were kind of trying to stretch themselves a little bit. And what's interesting is, this is my take on it. You were good for Daly and Vincent in a sense to to be able to have the kind of voice that you brought to the table, but probably they were good for you too to get your name back out there in a different way. And now you got a chance, in launching a more solo oriented part of your career. I want to talk about the Christmas album that you got coming out, but go to that whole thing about. I mean,
yeah.
it's no small thing to be featured on a Gaither homecoming video, So anyway,
Well, I would say that Daly and Vincent came at a point where I was just so excited to be back involved in music, because I had just been doing churches, and they got me into like theaters, and they were doing big performing arts centers, and it was such an awesome experience, and it really it built my confidence up, which and to be honest, Jamie Daly and Darren Vincent have been so kind to me in ways that nobody else has. I appreciate them so much. I mean, I honestly wouldn't have got to the Gaither stage without them. And I just I'm so thankful that they called me one day. I was just in my garage working on my lawnmower, and I got this phone call. Jamie Daly was like, "Hey man, you think about whenever you want to sing with us?" And I was like, I've never sang bluegrass before, but I'll give it a shot. And it actually helped me focus. It developed a tone that I'd never had before, which is like where you kind of focus behind your eyes and you can make this really bright instead of like, oh, eh, like
yeah,
something, and that'll save your voice. If you don't try to carry it up, you gotta try to drop down on it. That's something that Jamie and Darren taught me, and I will love them forever for how they treated me, and they've been. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about them and their families. They are good people, and they're wonderful examples of how to hire people and how to keep people. And I would still be with them to this day if it wasn't for COVID. I mean,
yeah,
COVID really. I had a 15-year-old son at the time, and he was a sophomore in high school, and he didn't have a driver's license, and he needed to be home. And my wife is like she's a scientist, so she
yeah.
had really important stuff to be doing, and so somebody had to be home. And so when COVID hit, I had to come off the road, and but I've been making records since then, that like the Christmas record you were referencing, and I've got that one. I've got a big band, like kind of American songbook, sort of Bublé Sinatra style record that is also
Awesome.
coming out this year. And then I'm going into the studio in about a month with a producer named Michael Sykes, who kind of
Yeah,
created the like Gaither vocal band 90s sound, like 2090s sound. And I'm hoping that we can make something really cool that will touch the hearts of you know the people that like Southern gospel and that like contemporary Christian music, but maybe they're not getting from contemporary Christian what they really want. I
yeah.
think that I think that Michael and I are going to be able to kind of hit that spot. Um,
We we in Christian music, most of the music that's made now is praise and worship kind of stuff that can be sung in a church. Well, it's designed to be sung by people in church. Usually, it's
yeah,
designed for people to sing from the stage and people in the audience, because some of those songs are just so hard to sing. They're beautiful, but they're
yeah.
hard for them to sing. Maybe maybe you get back to some songs that tell a story.
That's
Like
yeah. That's the kind of the goal. We've got some lyrics that Gloria Gaither wrote, and in fact, my buddy Woody Wright just sent me a song. Um, that it, he he's got access to like these old Gloria, um, like an archive of just
Yeah,
stuff that never has been put to music. But and so I think I've got one of those songs that I think that we're gonna record
that's
that's
great.
gonna be really cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you mentioned the Gaither homecoming thing. We've mentioned that a couple different times. We've kind of
Yeah.
teased it. I'm going to ask my producer Rob Walls to drop in this clip from. Um, I guess it was in early August that you were out there in Tulsa,
It was last
and
weekend.
you get invited out. Okay, middle of August, you get invited out to do your solo shot. You got about 2 minutes on stage, and this is what happened.
The day I saw the stream by flowing wounds supplied, redeeming love has been my theme and shall be till
So, so what were you thinking when Bill pointed at you to come on out?
Well, to be honest, it was 3 hours and 45 minutes into the show, and I was thinking he wasn't gonna use me. And I was
Yeah,
thinking, man, oh, it's over, but he finally like pointed at me and he did this, and I walked up there and sang a verse, there is a fountain, it's the verse, e'er since by faith I saw the stream, thy flowing wounds supply. Uh, redeeming love has been my theme and shall be till I die. And you know, I did it as strong as I could. Hit the old B natural. Everybody kind of liked it. It was really one of the best moments of my life, and just just to be on that stage with Sue Dodge and Ann Downing sitting behind me. I
yeah.
mean, that was awesome, because I've admired them my whole life. And I've seen them at district assemblies and my whole life. It
Do you
was it was
have you thought about the symmetry that is expressed in all the different things that you've experienced in your life, and the
yeah.
lyrics of that song, the whole idea of redemption and redeeming love. Um, I believe with all my heart, Josh, that the story of God is primarily about reconciliation and redemption. And here you are still singing about those kinds of things. You've been through a lot. Your family's been through a lot. There's been a lot of literal twists and turns and ins and outs and ups and downs and all of that. But you're still singing as well or better than you ever have, and you're finding redemption through the music that actually I think extends itself back out to people who also are in need of redemption. Yeah, I mean that's got to be pretty cool for you, doesn't it?
It is, man. It means so much to be at this point in the journey. I realize now that like just being a an open vessel that God can move through is cooler than, than hitting that high note or singing a lick that everybody is impressed by, but being there in the moment with the person who is hurting and heard a lyric or a song that you sang and they're touched by it and that's where I'm at.
We've been so hot in most of America this summer, all
Oof.
these soaring
Yeah.
temperatures and all that. I want to wrap it up and send everybody out with a little bit of Let It Snow,
Okay.
because I love that cut. So
You like
we'll
it? All right, cool.
We'll get to that as we head out. But is there anything else that you might want to share just before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I'd like to share that there's nothing in life that is holding you back. Anybody out there, it's never too late. And just believe in yourself. That's what I tell my son every day and that's what I tell the people I care about. It's never too late. Believe in yourself because God believes in you and we're going to, we're going to make it through no matter what. So just why would you not try as hard as you can?
Hey, thank you so much for your time. Give my best to Beth and Judah, and
I
we'll
will.
see you guys down the road somewhere. As always, folks, I close the podcast with what may be cliche to you by now, but get out there in the middle of doing something good for somebody else, because it's going to make a world of difference. I promise. Just like the title of this episode, Michael in the Middle is all about getting in the middle of making the world a better place, one person at a time. Enjoy this little snippet, a tease, if you will, of what I know is going to be one of your favorite Christmas records very soon. This is the great voice of Josh Cobb with a killer band. I'm impressed with the tracks on this.
Hey, man, these were all students and professors from the University of Oklahoma.
That's so cool.
Yeah, Boomer Sooner.
Boomer Sooner. That's right. It's almost football time. Let it snow.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight.